I'm going to talk about first what is a composite or a hybrid product. So just as it sounds, a composite product is something that's made up of multiple components composed into one singular product. So in this case, we're going to talk about ArmorWall Plus, as Farheen mentioned already, but it's comprised of a thermal layer, a magnesium oxide structural sheathing layer, and then a factory applied water and air barrier. Okay, why do we want composite products, right? So let's talk a little bit about labor efficiency. Labor efficiency is not changing. Well, for some people it is, for some people it's not. So if you take a look at this example, if we start in 1947, certain industries like agriculture have taken advantage of technology to improve their labor efficiency, in fact, by 1,600 times, right? If you look, however, at construction, starting in the early 70s, late 60s, we peaked and we've kind of started to trail off as far as labor efficiency goes. So why is that the case? Why are other industries getting better and why is commercial construction getting worse? So what happened? So if we take a look at this timeline, we've got a building that was built in the 12th century, the Gallerist Oratory, right? This is in County Kerry, Ireland. This is mass wall. It's just a bunch of stones stacked together, and it's as rudimentary as it basically gets, right? And then you fast forward 900 years to Apple Park. This is the Apple headquarters in Cupertino, California. Apple Park is cutting edge. It's as good as it gets, right? At least as of 2017. But as the energy efficiency improved over 900 years, because obviously it did with technology, the labor efficiency peaked and then declined back to the point where we started, right? So what is happening? Why is this happening? Here's a good example. And I'm going to talk, Gabe's going to get I'm going to move around a little bit. This is going to be, he's going to get into why the actual real life wall, but here's a graphic example. So this wall assembly, if you take a look at the left side, is a steel stud assembly with 6 different components. There should be 7 because there's not an insulation layer included in this, but we've got a gypsum sheathing layer, a building wrap, a grade D paper, a drainage mat, our mortar, and then our thin brick facade, right? So this comprises 6 components. Every one of these components requires a revolution around this building. That's 6 times around, 4, 5, 6 contractors. That's where the labor efficiency went, right? So we're building better buildings, efficient buildings, but the labor's gotten worse. Can we do better? Well, here's an example. The second option is an engineered system called ArmorWall Plus. Right, so now we've looked at all of those control layers, all of those components, and we've combined them into a composite product that now, instead of 6, 7, 8 revolutions and components, is comprised of 1 product, 2 products to finish the entire wall. So that's the reason why we want composite products. That's why these are designed, manufactured, and they're making a lot of sense for construction today. Okay. What is ArmorWall? What makes up an ArmorWall? So we touched on it a little bit, but I'll get into the three main components of this product. So this is our high-density polyurethane layer. Depending on the thickness of this layer, you'll get an R10, an R15, or an R21. Fused being an important word because it is fused with pressure and heat with a patented technology to our half-inch magnesium oxide board, so it becomes one monolithic piece, right? So now we're not worrying about delamination, we're not requiring help from adhesives, we're not worried about temperature differences in these 2 parts coming apart, and it adds structural strength as well. And then finally, it's finished off with our factory-applied air and water resistant barrier, eliminating the need for another component on your wall. Okay, there's 2 types of ArmorWall. This behind me is ArmorWall Plus on the steel stud. That's what this is right here. But we also make what is called a symmetrical panel, or our ArmorWall Plus SP. This product is very, very similar. However, on the interior side, we've got another half layer of magnesium oxide, sandwiching the polyurethane in between the exterior facing magnesium oxide on the outside. So there's going to be some fire applications and there's going to be some reasons why this product's made that I'm going to show you here in a second. But these are the 2 options for ArmorWall Plus. It's ArmorWall Plus and our SP Plus. Okay, one of the main reasons, one of the main benefits is fire, right? So if you have a fire-rated wall and you need a 1-hour fire-rated assembly, this example here is a 1-hour symmetrical load-bearing steel stud assembly with 2-inch ArmorWall, which is this product right here. So this is an R10 product. On the exterior of the assembly, interior, you've got 1 layer of Type X gyp, and then you finish with your cladding. So we're talking about Type X gyp, cavity insulation, mineral wool or fiberglass, exterior sheathing, composite product, and your cladding, right? So we've got 4 components to finish the wall as compared to 6 or 7, right? So if you take easy math, all things being equal, if it takes the same amount of time to install all these products, it's about 3 times faster. Assume you need a 2-hour fire-rated wall, and you introduce the symmetrical panel. Now you've got, in this particular wall assembly, 2 layers on the inside, cavity insulation, this product, and then your finished cladding, right? So now if you were to do this traditionally, you're going to have 2 layers of Type X gyp on the exterior. You're going to have a water-resistive barrier. You're going to have something to hold your insulation. You're going to have your insulation, your cladding attachment system, and then ultimately your cladding, right? So this takes out even one more revolution from the building. So again, all things being equal, this is about 3.5 times faster than doing it the traditional way. Okay. All of these are on steel studs. We talk mostly about steel studs, but ArmorWall doesn't have to go on steel studs alone. You can put ArmorWall on wood as well as concrete. Okay. To recap, we've got 3 pieces that make up this product, right? We've got our insulation, our thermal layer, our structural sheathing, and we've got our factory applied WRB, but these make up 5 performance components, right? So we've got our structural sheathing. Best analogy I usually give is when I'm giving this presentation is, imagine this is the inside of your house. You want to hang a TV, you want to hang a picture. You don't have to find a stud. There's no stud finder required. All you need is a level, right? And you can hang it anywhere you want on this. Applies directly the same, and Gabe's going to get into that for commercial construction. Fire resistance, NFPA 285 assemblies. We have several tests for NFPA 285 compliance, and as well as the ASTM ratings for fire-rated walls. Continuous insulation. I'm going to jump into the code here in a second and talk about how CI, exterior insulation, whatever you want to call it, is growing, and it's part of the code. It's almost adopted universally here in the United States, so this is an important component. And then finally, the water-resistive and air-resistive barrier. So 3 components, 5 performance characteristics.